All right, let's talk about something that we all deal with literally every single day, but probably never really stop to think about. I'm talking about the user update. You know, it's one of those totally overlooked parts of our digital lives, but getting it right, well, that's kind of an art form, and it's what separates the good apps from the truly great ones.
I mean, come on, you've been there, right? You open your favorite app, the one you use all the time, and suddenly, you're just lost. Everything feels off. It's disorienting, and honestly, it's pretty frustrating.
It feels like someone broke into your house just to rearrange all the furniture. That button you tap like a dozen times a day, poof, it's gone. That muscle memory you've built up, totally useless now. But you know what the worst part is? The silence. Nobody tells you what happened or why. You're just left there, poking around, trying to figure it all out yourself.
So that feeling, that confusion, it's not just in your head. It actually has a name. We call it the silent update problem. And what it really is a total breakdown in communication. It's a gap between the people making the software and, well, us, the people who actually use it.
And here's the craziest part. Even a fantastic update, something that makes the app faster or better looking, can feel like a bad thing if it comes as a total surprise. When we're left guessing what changed and why, that brilliant new feature doesn't feel like a gift. It just feels disruptive.
So, if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, thankfully, it's something really simple but also incredibly powerful. Let's dig into what user updates are all about.
Okay, so at their very core, user updates are just simple, straightforward messages. Their only job is to tell you about product reality. This isn't marketing speak, it's not brand promises or fluff. It's just the plain, simple truth. Here's what's new, here's what we fixed, and here's what's different now. That's it.
Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Not all updates are the same. Just like a mechanic has a whole set of tools for different jobs, product teams have a whole toolkit of updates. So let's open it up and see what's inside.
First up, you've got your big ones, feature updates. These are for the shiny new toys, the big new capabilities. Then you have improvement updates, which are all about those subtle behind-the-scenes tweaks that just make things run smoother. Bug fixes are super important. They're about saying, hey, we heard you and we fixed that annoying problem. Maintenance updates give you a heads up about planned downtime, which is just basic respect for your time. And finally, you have policy updates for all the important and sometimes tricky changes to stuff like the terms of service or pricing.
And how these messages get to you matters just as much as what they say. In-app messages are perfect for giving you a tip right when you need it. Push notifications, those are for the really urgent stuff. Emails are great for a more detailed summary you can read later, and of course, a good old-fashioned changelog or updates feed gives you one reliable place to see everything that's new. Choosing the right channel for the right message is absolutely key.
Okay, so we've got the what and the how down. But let's get to the most important question of all, the why. Why does any of this actually matter? Because this isn't just about making things less annoying. When this is done right, it becomes one of the best ways a company has to build real, honest-to-goodness trust.
From our perspective, as the users, it all boils down to one word: confidence. When a product talks to you clearly, it gets rid of that jarring surprise and frustration. It actually empowers you to try out the new features they worked so hard on. Over time, that consistent, clear communication builds a deep sense of trust and reliability. You just know they've got your back.
And for the business, the payoff is massive. When you communicate well, people actually use the new stuff you build. It cuts way down on confused support tickets. And when your product feels alive and dependable, people stick around longer and use it more. We're talking direct impacts on growth, on retention, right on the bottom line.
So you see, it's not two different things. It's one single powerful loop, a total win-win. What's good for the user is what's good for the business. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence creates growth. It's that simple.
But what happens when companies get this wrong? Let's flip the coin over and look at the other side. Let's talk about the very real cost of silence.
Yeah, it's pretty much the exact opposite of that win-win loop. When updates are missing or they're just confusing, it kicks off this nasty downward spiral. It starts with user confusion, which then floods the support team with tickets, and ultimately it just eats away at the trust that the product absolutely needs to survive.
And this brings up a huge mistake so many companies make. They confuse updates with marketing. Look, an update's goal is simple: to inform you about what's real. A marketing message's goal is to persuade you with a promise. The second you start blurring those lines and your updates start sounding like ads, you lose all that hard-earned credibility. Which brings us right to the heart of it. This quote really says it all. User updates can't be an afterthought, something the team just slaps on at the end. They have to be treated as a core, fundamental part of the product communication, because that is how you build trust that actually lasts.
So, I'll just leave you with this to chew on. In this digital world where, let's be honest, everything is always changing, communication isn't just a nice little extra, it's everything. So the question is, in a world that never stops moving, what is the real cost of being left in the dark?